Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome First Board of Directors Co-Chair, Mr. Bob Tuttle, and First Student, Sarah Gonzalez.
Good evening, and a warm welcome to the first annual Showcase Celebration, Houston Style. On behalf of the First Board of Directors, I want to thank you to all of people here who have made incredibly generous support of First their lifetime.
Tonight, we celebrate you. It's your passion, your wisdom, and your focus that have created the culture-changing community known as First.
Today, we know many of the world's communities are divided, but tonight, we are celebrating what unites us all. The First community is wonderfully diverse and incredibly inclusive. This year, 50,000 teams hailed from 86 countries and attended over 2,700 events. 140,000 volunteers of all races, creeds, genders, and political parties collectively worked for 16 million hours to make First happen.
But with all of this diversity, the First community is united in its mission to change our culture, transforming it to one that not only honors and respects science, technology, engineering, and math, but also celebrates gracious professionals who serve society.
Your actions unite people for a cause. Because of you, the actions of everyone in this room, we have unity in purpose and action. Tonight, we celebrate the unity of our First community. Tonight, we celebrate all of you and your commitment to the mission that unites us.
At the first robotics competition kickoff in January, First founder Dean Kamen challenged First teams to help their communities by sharing First with their community's police force. The teams listened.
Please welcome President of the International Association of Police Chiefs, Chief Don DeLuca.
Good evening, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here this weekend at the First Championship. We are here to honor and celebrate the motivated and highly accomplished First students who are pursuing education and career opportunities in science, technology, engineering, and math. First students are an inspiration to the police, their communities, peers, and families. First is all about connection, and part of that connection is connecting the youth with the police in a mentoring and collaborating role. Community-police relations and partnerships are vital, and we are appreciative of First in their efforts to further enhance the police-youth bond. The IACP hopes that this is just the beginning of a long relationship with First. Thank you.
Please welcome First President Don Bosey.
Thank you, Chief DeLuca. I'm honored to have the opportunity to work with each of you and this amazing First community. As I travel around the world and attend just a small fraction of the 2,700 First events this season, I'm continually impressed with First students. When I meet these kids and see their commitment to excellence and community, it is an affirmation that First is not only inspiring future innovators, but also inspiring the next generation of thoughtful world leaders. But each year, it is the determination and perseverance of people like you, First's ardent friends and supporters, which impressed me the most. Thank you all. First has over a 25-year track record showcasing the value of cooperation. World-class companies collaborate to bring their resources, their expertise, their employee volunteers, and their most advanced technologies to FIRST students. While companies may compete in the business world, they are united in the FIRST community in their commitment to prepare our students to become tomorrow's innovators and leaders. Your leadership in being the unifying force of FIRST is amazing. Thank you all. This weekend and next mark the culmination of another fantastic FIRST season, characterized once again by double-digit percentage growth. This season, FIRST kids learned about the wonders of the animal kingdom and its relationship to humans. They captured beacons and capped vortices with great velocity, and they prepared for long-distance airship races in FIRST STEAMworks. Colleges and universities validate the effectiveness of our programs, providing over $50 million in scholarships this year. How awesome is that? This is an incredibly powerful affirmation that FIRST works. Lastly, thank you to Houston, as well as to each of you, for supporting our inaugural year of dual championships. With your incredible support, we are delighted to enable more young people to experience the truly life-changing excitement of a FIRST championship. And we hope that you will all be able to join us at our Festival of Champions taking place in the birthplace of FIRST, Manchester, New Hampshire, this July. Again, thank you all.
Please welcome FIRST Distinguished Advisor and Co-Chair of the Executive Advisory Board, your Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Woody Flowers.
Good evening. Please read this proverb. Thank you for not waiting. You have all not waited very effectively. You have not waited with exactly the right emphasis. Your enlightened self-interest is being great for young people. Thank you for helping to provide things kids badly need. For a long time, we've known that our education systems are not perfect. Too often, as Dean so wisely points out, schools do not inspire students. I believe too much of education is being choked to death by a failed effort to train. Training is about learning codified information. It's the commodity part. Education is much more subtle and complex. It is the part that conveys comparative advantage. Now, the good news is that digital technologies are making training more accessible for everyone. After a few decades of stumbles, we're getting better at using technology to train. What I call true education is still much more likely to happen through human-to-human contact, apprenticeship, coaching, mentorship. With your help, FIRST is moving things in the right direction. In FIRST, kids experience true education. They do things that change the way they see themselves. Now, often they must train themselves or one another so that they have the knowledge to do, but it is the doing that enables the deep learning and the evolution of rational self-esteem. From personal experience, rather than from a grade, they know they can be creative, solve a very hard problem, lead others, learn new skills, acquire new knowledge. They have lived some of the chapters of Angela Duckworth's book, Grit. They understand, at a visceral level, Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. They know they have what she calls open mindset, an attitude that strongly correlates with a life of success. They've collided with Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. They know what happens when their fast brain goes on automatic. They know that reason demands downshifting into their slow brain. In short, they are experiencing what many modern scientists are learning about how our brains can be more effective. They have participated in a complex interdisciplinary design team. They know that wishful thinking will not overpower the laws of the universe. They have seen thousands of solutions to the same problem, which is a real rare learning experience. And with the whole community, they have come to deeply understand what is true about this season's challenge in each FIRST program. They therefore have learned that truth is related to something more than eloquent speech from an attractive person. They know that being persuasive does not make you right, nor does being right make you persuasive. So I argue that you have helped millions of young people get a big leg up on having a meaningful life because you have helped create a community that celebrates seeking truth and its application for good. But rants about epistemology and metacognition are not persuasive. What is persuasive are examples of how your reluctance to just wait has created unity in our community. Tonight, we invite you to reflect on FIRST's ability to fit in any existing community, to grow with those communities, and to catalyze unification across diverse communities. Unity is fundamental to FIRST. It is an anchor for our very large, very effective FIRST community. Please watch and listen.
FIRST gave us our first world championship here in Cleveland. I mean, we all know about the Cavs, but we were the first ones. Team 120 brought home that championship.
I've never had that opportunity of being in a neighborhood that's completely safe. But now working back with our students, which are all from urban areas, all from underprivileged schools, it just gives me that much more advantage over a mentor that may come in from an area where they never had to deal with that.
These kids, they find out that this is a safe place. They can act like normal people here. And to watch their self-confidence grow, their ability to understand the relatively advanced concepts that we have to deal with here. As a matter of course, from their freshman year to their senior year in high school is absolutely amazing.
Because of FIRST and my involvement with the East Tech 120 team, it saved my life. Some of the kids that was on this team, they don't come from the greatest households. And so to have an opportunity like this, to be told that you can be anything you put your mind to and have a place of refuge after school where you got people who love and care about you to see you through, it's an amazing opportunity.
Being involved in FIRST has helped me grow as a person because it helped me with my communication skills, for one. It helped me with my technical skills and just being a person in general. I don't know where I would be without FIRST, honestly.
If you look at the current team and the championship we won last year in 2016, a lot of people are saying, you know, how's it possible that an inner city school team won that championship? You know, they don't have the resources we have. They're not trained the same way we're trained. But the most important thing is that these kids never thought about themselves not being able to do it. It was a matter of, well, what is it that we need to do to get there, and let's just do it.
Confetti went off, and I looked up, and it was tied, and I kind of cried a little because I thought we lost. But then I looked at it again, it says victor, and I also cried a little because we won.
There are students who heretofore would probably never, ever consider pursuing not only STEM-related activities, but pursuing higher education. And so this is an avenue and a way for introducing them not only to these programs, but encouraging them to pursue positions and opportunities that will help elevate them out of their current economic situations.
I can honestly say I love FIRST. I love the experience that I gained from being on a team, and I love the experience going across the world to be able to work with other people. And this is something that I can take with me down the line throughout my life.
FIRST, when I say FIRST saves lives, that should be like a new tagline. You just don't know how impactful this program is in schools that oftentimes don't have the funding to even support it. And so, First saves lives.
Greetings. I'm George Bilikansky from First Robotics Competition Team 120. From Team 120, Cleveland's team, we thank you for First. First has succeeded where other programs have failed. First works in all types of communities. Our urban team's success is not an isolated example. The First community flourishes wherever it goes, blooms wherever it is planted. Uniting teams, schools, and communities, First seems to have a magical recipe for breaking barriers and creating community. And that magic works with people from every background, with every level of experience, and in groups from every heritage.
Benoshi weekend resort na weekend morgero we nische stort gero ich bin gero nische noch ich stort gero we anche dort.
After about half a dozen years of the Science Olympics, I always had in the back of my mind, well, maybe a robot team would be a good fit for us. And I thought it was going to be kind of like Lego, where you open your kit of parts and everything would be there. And we saw the frame and like, how are we going to put together a whole robot to do Recycle Rush with these things? We ran into every problem I could possibly imagine.
There's no machine shop that's accessible in the area. A lot of the trades in terms of engineering and computer coding and those things are not present in this community or even on Manitoulin Island in a wide respect.
We didn't have any budget, and we needed more than a driving frame, so we went to the recycling dump.
Nobody really knew what we were doing until we came home with 3 rookie awards, and that's when they started paying attention.
I guess we proved we can punch above our weight, and we can just stick with the big dogs kind of thing.
Our little team of 5 with borrowed shirts with our robot built from the recycling dump managed to make it as Alliance captains. So to have that experience was phenomenal for the students. To wind up with the highest seeded rookie and then to the Rookie Inspiration Award. It was incredibly validating to the team and to the project and to the community. You know, the community has a lot of pride in its young people.
Here at Common Kong, we don't have a word for robot because our language is really ancient. The first year, my grandma named our robot Biab Konamush, which means metal dog.
On the very last day of where we had to wrap everything up, we had to be done at a certain time. I think that's when our attitude and our spirits were most high because you can feel the joy and the teamwork.
We're a small high school, so essentially kids come in and they'll go either in the academic stream, applied stream, or the workplace stream. And especially in the classroom, these students do not intersect. They don't learn together. This is a course, it was an extracurricular, and now it's a course that brings all of the different pathways of kids together. And it just shows that everybody has something valuable. There's no other program that brings together the diversities within our own high school than FIRST does. It's the one thing that any kid feels like they can be a part of.
Each child that wishes to be part of this team and is willing to commit to the work necessary to build a robot, they're welcomed. The community here is very proud of the students and their continued development of Biab Golden Dimush.
These are cases of real unity within each team, within each school, with each community, and without borders. First Tech Challenge also creates unity. It sits in an important slot in the spectrum of FIRST opportunities. Kids 12 to 18, less kit-focused than FIRST Lego League, but more so than FIRST Robotics Competition. Teams of a few rather than a bunch. First Tech Challenge is one of the fastest growing programs, and it too creates community.
Good evening. I'm Erica Fessia from Qualcomm. At Qualcomm, we're inspired by First Tech Challenge students' innovative spirits, teamwork, and passion to create. They're empowered as inventors, which is at the core of who we are as a company at Qualcomm. They will be ready to tackle our biggest challenges. Our engineers and product teams have worked very closely with FIRST to reimagine, develop, and improve the First Tech Challenge control system. It hums with the latest mobile technologies. In the course of that work, we met a FIRST student whose personal community, his technical and social network, if you will, has rapidly expanded through FIRST. His name is Jordan Birkland. Jordan, an alumnus of First Tech Challenge Team 3550, Beta, in West Des Moines, Iowa, was interning at FIRST headquarters in Manchester, New Hampshire, when we first met. Our team was blown away by his knowledge of our control system and the First Tech Challenge program. We hired him as one of our first interns last summer, where he worked testing our drones. He so impressed us during his internship that Qualcomm awarded him a scholarship established especially for interns with extraordinary technical talent.
Good evening. I am Emily Birkland. Jordan is my son. FIRST brought community to him in many ways. Starting with FIRST Lego League, Jordan had many opportunities to learn and develop that he otherwise would have missed. The FIRST community was not only open, it was inviting, and it was full of unlimited potential for him. That is why I am still immersed in FIRST, long after Jordan went off to college. Like all senior mentors, I love to connect students to FIRST opportunities like those my son had. And as a parent, I love the values of the FIRST community. I have seen how FIRST accelerates the development of individual students with its hands-on, experiential programs. Schools don't always do that. I think they need to catch up with FIRST. Yeah. At one point, while working overtime on the First Tech Challenge robot, I remember Jordan telling me, "Mom, school is getting in the way of my education." In fairness, though, it is hard for schools to compete. The excitement that Jordan experienced when his team competed remotely in the Australia First Tech Challenge Championship, that is tough to beat. In this case, they shipped a robot to Sydney, Australia, and they drove the robot remotely in real time from Iowa. Talk about expanding your community. I want to thank the FIRST community for the gift of teamwork, problem-solving, communication skills that it has given my son and so many others like him.
Now, Jordan would be here tonight, but the FIRST community helped him open another door. Jordan is a junior at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, one of the really smart 200 colleges and universities that are part of the FIRST Scholarship Program. This semester, he is in Copenhagen, working on his robotics, engineering, and computer science degree. The FIRST community is vast, diverse, and inclusive. It unites all its members in a common goal of inspiring interest in and recognition of much more than just STEM. FIRST ignites kids' interest in their own potential, inspired, empathetic, and STEM-enabled. Qualcomm is excited to be part of the FIRST community. Through FIRST, Qualcomm meets many great people like Jordan and Mom Emily, who we can bring into our Qualcomm community. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica, Emily. Communities finding communities is yet another example of the magic of FIRST. FIRST at times acts like a matchmaker, and once in a while we get really lucky. FIRST found Lego, and Lego found FIRST. That unity has created tens of thousands of other unities. Kids working together on well-structured robot design problems and on research to apply technology to community needs. All across all kinds of borders. That is the right mix, and Lego is being a wonderful partner in inspiring kids that in turn inspire us.
Good evening. My name is Zaina Sayed, and I'm 16 years old. I was in FIRST Lego League when I was younger. I learned a lot about robotics, teamwork, coding, and perseverance from FIRST Lego League. FIRST runs on gracious teamwork, be it in the incitement of competition or in the growth of an inclusive robotics community. It was apparent to me that working together on science and technology breaks down barriers and unites people from all kinds of communities. Last June, I created the FemSTEM Robotics Scholarship Program. It is the nation's first all-female Muslim robotics program and scholarship fund. I wanted the girls in my community to experience FIRST Lego League and be tech literate, passionate about STEM, and open to STEM careers. I wanted them to be leaders and cooperative problem solvers. I also want other communities to see that girls in my community are as enthusiastic and capable as any science, technology, engineering, and math competitors. I have seen that FIRST Lego League breaks down barriers between communities so that we can work together. In just 4 months, I helped 8 girls without any prior robotics experience learn to compete in the FIRST Lego League tournament. Despite being a rookie team, they won a first place overall award and moved past qualifiers. My community was very proud of them, and I think we have encouraged others to join FIRST. FIRST Robotics was the perfect vehicle to achieve the goal of awakening Muslim girls to STEM and breaking down barriers. For me, the FIRST community has been a uniting force and has helped everyone realize that lots of communities share a passion for science and technology. Progress.
Thank you, Zana, for celebrating sharing in the FIRST community. You clearly broke barriers. Oh, if only we adults would learn to listen to kids, and maybe we should listen to some very young kids, like the ones in FIRST Lego League Junior. That program is accessible and easy to start. That is so important that kids get hooked on learning and thinking as young as possible. Thank goodness, it is growing like crazy. FIRST Lego League Junior grew at an astonishing 35% this season, and almost 40% of the participants were young girls.
LEGO Education and the LEGO Foundation are very proud of our first LEGO League Junior community. Did you know that everything you will ever learn in your life builds on your experiences as a child? That is why LEGO Education, the LEGO Foundation, together with FIRST and other organizations, work to promote initiatives like First LEGO League Junior, so that children have a playful learning experience. Play literally helps build our brains. Because when children play, they learn skills for life. Skills like problem solving, creativity, and collaboration. First LEGO League Junior is already in 41 countries around the world. This year, thanks to a grant from the LEGO Foundation, First LEGO League Junior communities were given a boost in South Africa, in Mexico, and in Ukraine. Tonight, I want to share with you the story of the First LEGO League community in Ukraine. We know that growing up in an unstable and fragile setting poses many risks to children and their families and can have an adverse effect on a child's development. In the midst of an unpredictable and fragile situation in Ukraine, an amazing woman, Oksana Stoyetska, with team members like Tanya Skarjanovska, has created an organization that has facilitated explosive First LEGO League Junior growth, from no teams 2 years ago to 130 teams today. Oksana and her team organized teacher training, events, volunteers, and a community. They got an amazing program off the ground in record time. They did all of this, and still do all of this, because they believe that First LEGO League Junior gives everyone in their community hope for a better future.
Most coaches, they work on volunteer grounds. They stay at school after the lessons, they prepare excursions in their free time. And you know what? They love to do it. They love to do it because they see the sparkle in the children's eyes when they are preparing the topic of the season. They see how they start to feel in love with math and engineering while building Lego model, and how exciting they get while they are programming it.
First LEGO League Junior changes not only teachers and children, but everybody else who is around us. This program gives everybody the most important things which we Ukrainians have found over the past years. Belief on changing. Hope what we can have influence of something. Hope of being capable of great innovation. Hope of we see the better future.
As you have just seen, one of our most powerful weapons in First culture-changing community is our amazing mentors, the secret sauce that leads to magic.
This crowd really are the sergeants of First. They know what's going on. They know how to relate to the kids. They do it every day, all year round.
The dedication required to be a First mentor is something I've not seen in any other program that I've seen in high school.
We can change things. It's one student at a time, but that's okay. You know, we can do that because that one student can affect 3 others, and we can just keep it growing.
There's kind of an acceptance of, you know, kind of a family feeling. And I think that's what makes the feeling of, you know, of being a mentor in First special. You're not alone.
Every day as a coach and as a teacher, I get those aha moments when a student emails or they tweet out what great things they're doing in this world, and I know that somewhere, somehow, I made a small difference and they're making the big difference, and that's what it's all about.
You know, I used to say, if we get a kid for 3 years, we have a pretty positive impact on their life. Well, I've been doing this 21 years, and it's definitely been a positive impact on my life.
It's always the big picture. You see the student just light up, you know, when he runs his first circuit, or when he actually gets a motor and the wheels turn and the robot goes forward. You just see that. Or I just got a letter in the mail the other day. A student fulfilled his lifetime dream. He's running a nuclear power plant, and he said it's because of FIRST. You get stuff like that, and it hooks you. And every year you say, yep, I'll do it again.
I mean, I've got kids who are now doctors and CEOs of major corporations, and some of them have gone into teaching, and some of them are in engineering, and they all care about their community. They're all trying to help make things better for everyone around them. And I can't ask for much more of my kids than to be good citizens. So, and yeah, I love my kids.
I am honored to be in the Woody Flowers Finalist Award Winners community. Your community is our community, and together we are this wonderful thing called the FIRST community. And the center of the FIRST community is the word unity. FIRST unites people like no other program in the world. FIRST seems like goodness gravity. And it is goodness gravity that has now been around for a real long time. It exerts a strong pull that lasts forever.
Students of East Tech High School were all aglow at NASA Lewis Research Center. The Cleveland School's first robotics team held a practice session of their robot named the Scarabean Knight. The team is preparing for regional and national competition in Florida coming up in April.
It was 1994 where one of the engineers came up to me and said, there's a robotics program in New Hampshire, and would you like to have a team at East Tech? Well, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what robotics tournament East Tech. East Tech has been known for football, basketball. Kids on East 55th Street in the inner city, they were never known for math and science. And I thought, this is really going to be amazing. And then when people started hearing about the East Tech robotics team, they sort of just smiled and shook their head, and then that happened. Over the course of the next 6 weeks, 9 weeks, as we were putting this together, you could just see the pride in the school when this team was actually built a robot.
We figured out at a very early age that we could do more than what was expected from us, and that was all because of the FIRST team.
I think of mentorship, I think of a sense of family, community, I think of hard work, and I think of exposure, and I think of just really opportunities and having really a platform to propel us into something else.
Like, our team was predominantly African American, so that was one thing, kind of, let's say, like a culture shock, so to say, going down there with the other hundreds of teams, and it's like, oh, we're the only one that's predominantly African American. Wow, you know, we didn't feel offended or afraid. It was just like, wow, okay, we really kind of, you know, this is where we are. So that was a interesting situation. So
I got reams and reams of film on how this team was so unique, and we were the first urban team, and the kids were so proud of that.
And I do remember going to Florida, we're in Disney World, and you start to interact with some of the other teams, and you see, it's like, hey, you know, at East Tech, this is our experience. And they're saying, you know, hey, I'm from wherever, and my experience was completely different. Or here's all the resources that we have. And it's like, oh, that would have been nice to have.
When you talk about Team 120, you have to really look at its first real big accomplishment, and that was back in 1999 when they won the National Chairman Award. And at that time, Team 120 was looked at as the miracle on East 55th, because that's where East Tech High School was.
It lifted everyone up and gave everyone in the school a sense of pride to see an inner city school for students who, many of whom were raised in poverty, to see that school recognized on television and in the newspapers for being an outstanding school and something positive.
Anticipation, waiting for the Chairman's Award, like the buzz within the group, because we're all together near the stage, you know, it's just gave you chills, you know. I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it.
So he said it like, you know, and this year's Chairman's Award winner is Team 120. And then that's what we always realized, that's us. We ran up there. I mean, we ran like we had just won like a soccer championship, like just like the Golden Globe. I mean, it was amazing.
Pretty soon scholarships start coming in. Going right down the line, all 15 of my seniors on that team got scholarships to major universities because they applied and they had the confidence to apply and they knew what to do in applying because they weren't scared of it anymore.
The Cleveland East Tech students walked away with the prestigious Chairman's Award, making themselves and Cleveland very, very proud. Congratulations to all of them. East Tech. East Tech looking good nationwide. I like that. Me too.
I think I spent the rest of my life giving back, working with kids, trying to inspire. I won an award for community service from the Ohio State Bar Foundation. One of the big reasons why I still am involved in community and do a lot of community service is because of all the people who did community service and were involved in the community when I was a kid growing up.
I don't think Mr. Supple knew the impact that he was making at the time. I think now when I think about it, when I talk to him and I call him on Thanksgiving, occasionally I remember a couple years ago before I had my son, I called him and I said, oh, how are you doing? And I think he was touched that I had reached back out to him. But something that I know and that my family knows, my mom knows, is I would not be the success that I am without the work that he did to invest in me, so I appreciate that.
When I say First Saves Lives, that should be like a new tagline. You just don't know how impactful this program is in schools that oftentimes don't have the funding to even support it. And so, First Saves Lives.
Please welcome first founder, Dean Kamen.
Good news and bad news, everybody. That was an incredibly well-produced show. There's a lot of people work hard to do that. If I could only learn to read a teleprompter, I'd be part of a great show. And it's always hard to follow somebody that is so good at presenting as Woody, or those kids in these videos. But I do have a couple of notes. And my notes come from two people that rarely get public attention here, but they've been with First for probably close to the 25 years we've been around. Vince Waslinski and CeCe Newman. I can't see anything out there, but Vince and CeCe, you're here, right? Thank you. Yeah, Vince was the guy you saw at lunch from Yale, scouting. And CeCe's been helping us forever. So they gave me some notes and basically said, keep it short. You're the last guy. But they said the whole theme this year is about unity. And in fact, they told me that they themed it around unity this year because of some things I've been trying to push. And as I watched, and I saw this for the first time as all of you did, so if I asked all of you to follow that, what would you say? I don't know either. But there are two groups of people, the more I think about unity, starting at the very local end, your own school, your own community, your own town, your own city, your own state, your own country, and global. And I think First is coming at unity from both ends, from the individual school level all the way to FIRST Global. So I want to prove that I think we're going to bring unity more than anything else to the world. It's not about the robots. They're just a vehicle. For all of you that have supported FIRST over the years, I think you know that I've always thought FIRST can be way, way more catalytic to fixing the world than just giving the kids the skills they need for their technology careers. And as I watched this, I couldn't help but think about the convergence that I'm trying to get for unity at both levels in a world that seems to be unwinding itself at both the local and global level. To prove that, I'm going to embarrass a couple of people here. Probably 15 years ago, after FIRST had been around maybe 10 years, we started getting more and more international teams. And around then, I got to meet a true statesman of the world, Shimon Peres. And I got to meet him also with a guy that's here tonight with us from Israel, Avihu Ben-Nun. And he's been known to people here for a long time on our side. We also have here, from the United States Air Force, the general who's entirely responsible for recruiting for the United States Air Force. And maybe I won't embarrass you, General, but you're here, aren't you? There you are. So they know each other. The reason they know each other is Avihu was an F-15 pilot back in the 1967 war. He ended up through his career being the commander of the entire Israeli Air Force. It's funny to me that I'm going to talk about both local and global support for FIRST, and interestingly, it comes from what most people might think is an unexpected pillar of society. At the local level, police forces, and at the national level, the military. And General Haransak said to Shimon Peres, when I put them back together outside, "It's an honor to meet you, you're a legend." As I said, about 15 years ago, when Israel started getting more and more teams, I had visited, and over the years, they've grown more and more. But a few years ago, when he was still then a young man of 88 or so, the former prime minister, the former, you name it, the living statesman of the world, Shimon Peres, said to me, "Dean, the reason I want to put FIRST in every school here in Israel and in the Middle East is because I've learned one thing in my life. Politics divides people with arbitrary lines on a map, arbitrary rules, laws, and language and custom. Politics divides the world. It always has. You can divide it in ways where we can get along, but it divides the world." And he said to me, technology will unite the world, both literally, the cloud, instant access. Qualcomm will show you anybody can connect to anybody instantly anywhere on this planet. But he said, let's use FIRST as a tool of international diplomacy. Let's create a world for the first time where a generation of kids all grow up learning the same truths. Physics and math, and Newton's laws are the same everywhere. Let's create a world where all kids can grow up communicating, gracious professionalism, cooperation. Let's create a world where kids will have the tool sets and the technology to build their own garden. They won't need to come and take anybody else's. And it was some of his inspiring words that said to me, we will now have to make FIRST more global. He agreed to be the chair of a FIRST global organization that we were forming to spread the word of FIRST. And unfortunately, at the age of 93 recently, he passed away. But he left a legacy in Israel and in the world. And when I saw Avihu here, he's here in the US, in Houston, with some of the teams that are participating in the 2017 championship. How many, you might ask, came from this little country, Israel, to be here today with us? The answer is 24. But if you ask, how many teams, how many FIRST teams are there in that little country in the middle of the Middle East? That country of 10 million people. How many FIRST teams do they have? And the answer is 1,100. And that's astounding. And it's a testament to leadership. Avihu, who retired from the military a while ago, recognized, as most people that have actually been in the military, as I'm sure our military leaders would tell you, military response is sadly always the last resort. It's never the most effective, either financially or in human capital. And as a man who was a fighter pilot and a war hero, Avihu is working as the primary source in that country to create unity so that the military and the last resort isn't the way we continue to resolve our issues. I'm going to jump now to another special guest we have here, very US-based, not global, not military. Anybody that's watched the news in the last year or two has seen that in cities across the United States, we're unwinding ourselves on a local basis. People don't have confidence or trust in their police and the public they're supposed to protect, at least by the news, seem to always be at odds. When I saw this going on all through last year, it occurred to me I've left out a critical component of growing FIRST. And as most of you that know me know, I'm never bashful. Once I realize I screwed up or I haven't targeted the right group to help FIRST, I just go after it. And it turns out, I realized that you don't have to go international to realize that sometimes military and force is sadly the only solution to a problem. You only have to look domestically at what's going on. And I happened to see the news during one of these awful weeks of internal strife in this country. And I happened to see our former president say, the pillar of safety and security and democracy, freedom in the United States is that people trust their community police and vice versa. And he pointed out, and he was in Dallas at the time, that sadly most of the cities now in this country have police that don't really live directly in the city, don't have direct connection with the people that they're supposed to serve and protect. And most of the people don't have a personal relationship with the police. Community policing seems to have gone away, and we're living with the consequences. And as I saw that, how could I have spent 25 years growing FIRST, and I go after corporations, I go after schools, parents. But if we really want to see every school like the ones you just saw in Cleveland, Team 120, if we really want to get FIRST available to every kid, arguably the kids that need it most, if we want to restore trust and order and harmony, we got to get back to a community, to unity. So I said, instead of sending all my kids to the local schools, why don't I give them to the local police department? They can deliver them as gifts to the schools. They can get to know the kids that probably need a little nudge in the right direction. And so I said, There's got to be an efficient way to do that. Now that FIRST is at scale, I can't do it one at a time. The gentleman you saw here speak was a little modest. Yes, he's a chief of police in a city in the United States. He is also the president of the IACP, the International Association of Chiefs of Police. They have 28,000 chiefs. They have the chiefs of every city in the United States. They have chiefs in 139 countries. So I'm sitting here watching this saying, Vince, Cece, you told me tonight we're all about demonstrating that FIRST can be a tool to create unity and hope. You heard Woody talk about the power of giving kids the right perspective. Well, now imagine coming from two ends, arguably the two most capable military forces on the planet, the United States Air Force and the Israelis. These guys are here to create unity. It's not a coincidence to me that the Air Force is here desperately trying to get the smartest kids in this country to be part of their future. It's not a coincidence that Avihu is here hoping to create unity so that we don't need the last resort solution to problems. And it's not at all a coincidence that I invited Chief DeLuca to be here because I wanted him to see the possibility. I wanted him to be able to leave here with a message that he can deliver to 28,000 community chiefs, to say to them, get involved with FIRST, work with the schools, work with the mentors, work with the teachers, work with the sponsors, and let's quickly deliver to every community in this country the possibility that we can create unity. We can give all kids everywhere a realistic expectation of a successful life and career. We can connect kids to people that give them the skill sets they need. We can give them a working relationship with the local community police so that they can respect and trust each other. And maybe we won't see the horrific news we see all the time because that doesn't exist now. So I've been saying every year, I know poor Don Bossi knows that every time I get a crazy idea of this is the new group we need to bring in, it always dumps a lot of work on him and the 100 and some odd people we have as his direct staff. And it kind of stretches the work I throw at the 140,000 volunteers you heard Bob Tuttle say we have. But the fact is, there's no easy shortcut to that. And so I'm here tonight really to talk about unity from both ends. One is to thank Avi Ben-Nun for showing leadership and hopefully helping us build a global unity and community. To the Lego people who are helping us, as you see, whether it's the Ukraine or otherwise, bring a global platform. I'm here to say I appreciate the United States Air Force and all the other pieces of the US military being super supportive of FIRST. They're the largest single sponsor of teams we have. Last year they had 650 teams at FRC and our other programs. But my new target this year is I want, by July, when we have the postseason event, to have Chief DeLuca sign a memorandum of understanding with our president, Don Bossi, that says he's going to help identify all the cities, all the schools, all the local communities that need the magic of FIRST that you saw in all these videos. And he is going to help us, through his 28,000 chiefs, deliver to these communities unity. And if we do that, we will succeed. I'm done. Thank you.